Okay, really shitty thumbnail image done. All right, let's just move myself back over here. We got a lot to talk about today. So Worlds Collide. I don't know how recently this set got spoiled, but I'm pretty sure that not a lot of people have seen this yet. So I thought I'd just jump in and make a video on it. It's like 2 a.m. Okay, not quite 2 a.m. It's like 1 a.m. But you know, they dropped it. I wanted to make a video. Here we are. So the first thing we can see when we look at this article that they posted is that we got some new products here. Now, I've skimmed this a little bit. I'm just going to be going over some of the new stuff and giving my opinion here. So we're just going to scroll through a little bit here because there wasn't anything too notable at the top. They had a lot of filler. If we look here, we can see some of the new cards. And you can see you got this little like helix fossil and star symbol houses. And yeah, that's the new big news. The first thing, if that's what you came for to find out about, here you go. There's two new houses, the rotating out Mars, and the rotating out Sanctum. To add in this new dinosaur house, Saurian Republic, I think, and the other house is Star Trek. Star something something. Yeah, it's literally Star Trek. You can like take it for what it is. Anyways, yeah. So that's the first piece of big news here. You can see you got some nice little new cards in the background. They're not screwing us over with a bunch of reprints yet. Although, like the previous set, there will be a lot of cards returning from the other ones, but I think we're still getting a ridiculous amount of new cards added to this one. I say ridiculous. I think it's at least 100, which is maybe not as ridiculous as the first two sets had. Anyways, not the point. Not what we're here for today. Not the discussion we're looking for. So, moving on. We scroll down, they go, and they spend a lot of time about these new houses. I couldn't be happier that they're getting rid of Mars. I wish they didn't replace it with just another space thing. I'm not a huge fan. I do like the gold color. It's very nice. In fact, I like both the colors that they've included on the new cards here. It's nice. It's nice. Sanctum rotating also. I feel like they could have picked something else that I liked less. But that's just me. Maybe you're happy Sanctum's gone. I'm very disappointed that Sanctum is gone. But dinosaurs, I'm in on dinosaurs. I wish they weren't people. I wish they were literally just dinosaurs. But we've only seen a couple of them. Maybe there'll just be some, dinosaurs. I just want dinosaurs, okay? So we move on. So we got these other new things here. So these are anomalies, and this is kind of like your Maverick Legacy card, whatever, this set. It's not replacing the other ones from what I can see. They didn't say anything about it. Not saying anything about it usually means no changes. So if we look here, we see a few things. So first is there's a new keyword, haunted, and we'll get to some of the other new keywords because there's a few other ones. But let's start with this one because I really like this one. It's a threshold mechanic, which is really good. And it takes a couple turns for KeyForge, but you're gonna get there and you're gonna have it for most of the game. So it's very good. Threshold mechanics for graveyard are very good in most games. They trigger when you have X amount of cards in your discard. And they give you a bonus, and in this case, very good. It enters play ready, whatever. It's not a continuous effect on this card, but I'm sure there will be other cards with continuous effects, and they're going to be very good. But it's nice to see in KeyForge because of the fact that if you wheel through your deck, which is what most decks want to do, you're going to actually lose this mechanic for a few turns, which obviously on this card doesn't particularly matter right away, but on other cards might. And that's really cool. I like that. I really do. I also really like how they look. That's also really cool. What I'm not so much a fan of is... Sorry, I'm mixing two things here. I'm sure I sound like an idiot. I'm very tired. It's been a long day. So the haunted mechanic, I like. The lightning effect that's going on here is anomalies. Okay, two separate things. I like both of them. I think they're both really cool, but they're not the same thing. Like, I may have made that sound like it was. Moving on. So anomalies, if we look at the set code here, as pointed out by one of my colleagues, you can see that it says A07, which is not part of the regular set code, and that indicates that there's probably a set number of these. So unlike Mavericks and Legacy cards, it's not just going to be any card. They've specifically made cards for this thing, and that's cool. And it looks like they can appear in any house. So it's going to be select number of cards that you can get in any house. I think that's really cool. I'm a little confused. They're fairly vague here, but I'm a little confused about, this card, let's say, is a Brobnar card, and if I'm playing a deck that doesn't have Brobnar, if I can get this one, and then if I have to pick Brobnar in order to play or use this card. Because it's a very good card, but that's probably not worth it if I'm not in a deck with Brobnar, unless I have a lot of cards that can trigger other cards, which sounds like a busted deck regardless of having this card in it. And if it doesn't have that sort of thing, and it needs that sort of thing, it'll probably just suck. So we'll have to see how that goes. Again, they're fairly vague about this particular thing. I think it's really cool, though, because it looks awesome. And the card that they've designed for it, at least the one that they've shown, is also very cool. I'm Durdling. Let's go back up a bit because I missed some of the other keywords that I'm sure you're probably interested about. So if we look here, we can see Ward. They explain what Ward does. Ward is like a preventative mechanic that is kind of like Armor, where it's like a one-time mitigation. It just doesn't reset at the end of your turn. That was a terrible way of explaining it. So basically, if your thing would die, your thing doesn't die, and then you remove a ward counter. You can't have more than one ward counter on a creature, because that would be broken, is basically what they're saying without saying those exact words. Am I okay with that? Yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm not sure how I feel about adding more counters to the game that already has too many counters, but concept is cool. It makes sense. Sure, whatever. I'm in. I'm sold. Then if we move over one to the right, you see another new counter, and the card does not specifically explain what this counter is, but if we read the text, we can see that this is Enrage, and Enrage is a negative thing. And most of the new things that we're seeing outside of Ward seem to be negative things. The way they're selling it is that when a creature is enraged, it has to attack. So it can't reap, which is obviously a bad thing because you want to reap. So the way this mechanic is good is you play a card that gives something this mechanic, and then you get a benefit for doing so, and it's a trade-off, which is cool, but it doesn't get me super excited about seeing Enrage when Enrage is the actual downside. What I do like about this mechanic is that if you apply it to your opponent's creature, as they've nicely given us as an example here, the opponent's creature must fight and cannot reap, and that's really cool. Then if we take a look one more to the right here at the Raptor, we have another very similar mechanic, which is Exalt. And the way Exalt works is very similarly to the Enrage. You exalt a creature, and exalting sucks. It's not a thing that you want to do, because it's literally setting your opponent up to get Amber. What you do when you exalt a creature is you place an Amber from the common supply, which is basically you just place an Amber from the like not owned by a player pool, like your stack of tokens. You grab a token from there, you pop it up. You're generating an Amber onto the board, but it's going onto your creature most of the time, which means your opponent's going to get it if they get to kill your creature, which sucks. But as you can see with this card, it comes with a generally very good upside, as it would have to be in order to give your opponent Amber and say, hey, look at this new thing. Giving your opponent Amber is really good. I also like the way that they said this in the post. It was I think it's a little further down. Oh, here we go. Yeah. Fighting is a key part of playing KeyForge. The most important of the game is Amber. So that enrage mechanic we just talked about, yeah, fighting's cool and all, but check out this mechanic where you make Amber. Okay, are you sold yet? You like making Amber, right? Okay, so here's the kicker. You give it to your opponent. Right? Isn't that great? Isn't that exactly what you want your deck to do? On the upside, similarly to Enrage, I imagine there's some world where you exalt your opponent's creature, and that'd be really good because you get the benefit out of that. There's some fringe scenarios where this isn't good or is better. If you have maybe an Obeyed, if that's returning or whatever, there's some kind of capture creature Sorry, no, for my point, I exactly meant obeyed. So obeyed, when he reaps, you discard a captured like amber from him. So yeah, it doesn't have to be captured. Just that's basically what it is. So if he reaps, you discard the amber, and with exalt, that's obviously very good if you were to exalt him. But if you exalt your opponent's creature and they have something like that, then that's not good. So there's some weird niche scenarios where it's like not going to be good when you're using it to its fullest. Or it might be better than it seems. But for the most part, these are both just trade-offs to get something else. So I'm not particularly excited about them, aside from the fact that I like the flavor of it. And I like the idea of just sabotaging your opponent. I don't like the idea of helping my opponent as a trade-off to give myself a benefit. I'd prefer to just play good cards, or maybe use a trade-off that isn't as harmful to myself or beneficial to my opponent. But that's just me. Anyways, we've talked about this long enough. Let's move down a bit. So that, I think that takes us past most of the mechanics here. Just make sure I didn't miss anything important. Yeah, center of the battle line. That was what I was. So I'm curious. I don't think they mentioned in this post, but I presume that this mechanic works not only that the creature has to be in the middle of your battle line, but if you have an even number of creatures in your battle line, there will be no center. Therefore, it probably doesn't work in that scenario. And I think that would be really cool, but we don't necessarily know if that's how that works yet. So we'll have to wait and see. But I like that. That's like more things that focus on manipulating the board state is really cool. And I think being able to control whether or not you have an even or odd number of creatures in order to take advantage of something, or prevent your opponent from taking advantage of something, is something that I'd like to see explored a little more. That's pretty cool. So moving down, so we have another starter set coming out, and it has the new counters. And see how they made new counters to make you buy the new starter set. I'm gonna buy it, but I'm sure there's some people complaining about that, and it kind of sucks, but I see what they're doing here. Alright, then if we take a look down, we see that they now have this deluxe deck, which is just, it's a starter set, but instead of being for 2 people, it's for 1 person, I guess. Although I don't really see why you would want to get this over the starter set, since the starter set just comes with more tokens. You get 2 decks, you get to, take your pick. Yeah, I guess you maybe don't need that many tokens, you don't need, 6 keys, but, if you're starting the game, I assume you don't have a lot of people who are already playing the game. And so if you want to start the game, you're probably going to start with someone, and if you start with someone, you're going to want a 2-player starter set. But it's nice to have the option. So you know what? Sure, the more things there are, the better, I guess, right? That's not the sort of thing I really want to be complaining about too much. And if we look down here, we now have the premium box. There's a lot to like here. I just hope it's not going to be too expensive. So, it comes with a chain dial. I hate chain counters. I think they're cool, and they look nice, and it's nice to collect them, but they're not very practical. They just don't work well. I think a dial just makes a lot more sense. I hope that it counts to more than 2, but if it does not, so be it. Then we have this nice sticker sheet here with the houses on it. I think that's really cool. I have a lot of the way I store my KeyForge decks right now. Here, so I have a bunch of archives and the Super Hive Ultimate Guard stuff because I high roll a little bit. But if we look in here, you'll see. Sorry, my cards have fallen down. So if we look in here, you'll see I just have a bunch of decks, and it's there's nothing there. But in most of my other boxes, all the ones except for the one I grabbed as an example, I have clear deck boxes that I put all my cards in. I bought my store out of clear deck boxes, so that I could just put all of my many decks in them. And having sticker sheets with which to label them of which deck is inside, I think is really nice. So that's cool. Now, if you don't have as many deck boxes as me, and you're having the problem of I don't have enough deck boxes, this comes with 5 deck boxes, and you'll see here they actually have slots for the stickers. That's really cool. What else is really cool? Ooh, okay. I don't know what I clicked there. So what else is really cool is that the premium collector's box and the token box look really sick. And I assume that the token box is going to be useful for a lot of people who do not already have a way to hold their tokens. And I have a way to hold my tokens, but it sucks. And you know what? It may just be a box, but it's a pretty good box. Probably gonna buy this. Probably gonna buy a lot of these actually. At least it comes with decks. That'll make me feel better about it. Premium collector's box. They didn't. I don't know. They didn't really give us a lot on like dimensions here, but it looks like it's just what all the stuff comes in. And you know, it doesn't look super useful. Just size-wise, just doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. But if your decks are in actual deck boxes, you know, maybe it's the right size that you can just line a bunch of them up. Although, I imagine you'd want more than 5 decks worth of deck boxes to actually fill this thing to the point where it would be worth actually storing decks in without decks falling over. Potentially it'll hold like 2 rows of like 10 from what I can see here, maybe a little more, which would be pretty sick, but you'd have to get like a bunch of these in order to do that, so that's not cool. Anyways, that's I think that's about it for today. I think I covered everything. Just wanted to make sure I got that out there. There's a lot of cards they like didn't give us a lot of the text on here, and that kind of sucks. Oh, yeah, actually, hold up. If we zoom in here, actually, yeah, let's just take a look at these for a second because I haven't. So this card here, Senator Shrix. Says you may spend. Oh, you can't see that on my camera. There we go. He says you may spend amber on him as if it were in your pool, and then he exalts, and that's really cool because that's exactly what we were looking for to make exalt not a downside. And I'm really hoping there's a lot more things like this in this set. Then if we look over here at the Hugger Mugger. You know, I was excited about this set until I started reading the card names. Oh, buddy. Hugger Mugger. Okay, sorry. Back on track. Capture. So he's elusive, he captures an amber. Then if your opponent has forged more keys than you steal one. And classic Shadow, steal one. But capture isn't something we see a lot of in Shadow. So that's kind of cool. And I think the idea of like having Exalt like share this space with Capture and like having synergy between them with like Senator Shreks will just make Capture better as a mechanic. I'm kind of looking forward to see that. That's pretty cool, I think. Then we have like the Questor Jarta. When he reaps, you can exalt him and gain an amber. So you know, because you're reaping, you're not like losing your action to like exalt him. And then if he gains an amber and your opponent only gets the amber if he kills them, let's just assume he kills them at some point and gets the amber, you're 1-for-1ing on that, so you're not actually giving your opponent like an upside. So he's still going +1 in amber, which is good. And he's elusive, which will help protect him from losing the amber. And so that looks pretty good. And then if you were able to stack up a bunch of these and play Shrix and just like spend amber from your exalted creatures to your pool, that'd be pretty sick. I foresee a world where board wipes are going to be very important in this set, and I'm very curious to see if things like Unlocked Gateway carry over, and if so, it's probably going to be very good, especially since Dis has actually a fair bit of capture in it. Actually, maybe that's an overstatement. Maybe they don't. But like a lot of their capture cards that they have are like good capture cards, like Charette, but they just like even though they like capture a lot of amber, they can't like protect themselves, or it's like not useful. And like if we have a little more synergy to that, I think it'll be really good. I don't know. I'm not completely sold on the new mechanics, but I'm liking them. I think the idea of like taunting your opponent's like enraged creature and then it like enrages is like really cool. So seeing that one as more of a negative and Exalt is maybe more of a like an actual trade-off where you can get benefit from the Exalt is really cool. I've said cool a lot in this video. I gotta work on that. Alright, well, that's my take on it. Just wanted to make sure you got this out there for anyone who hasn't seen anything about this yet, because there's a lot of stuff to like here. I know I was maybe a little pessimistic in this video. I'm tired. I'm seeing a lot of things that like at first I like didn't like, and like the more I look at them, it like grows on me a little bit. I like just looked at these cards like 5 minutes ago. So if I seem a little if I seem a little not sold on them, maybe when I wake up in the morning, I'll be like, wait, this is really good. Maybe the video wasn't a good idea. But the important part is that now you know about it. Ramble. Alright, good video, guys. It was a good one. Alright, I'll see you later.